Hello. So today we're making the pauldrons. Pauldrons and the bracers and the gloves. Oh, it's not crawling on my toe. I'm very sorry for a lot of the framing throughout this video. I ended up getting a new camera, which is what I'm filming on now. It has a little flippy out monitor so I can see what I'm doing. But with my previous camera, I couldn't see anything. I was just guessing, so most of the time, I wasn't in frame at all. So, very exciting, I know. I'm an expert. So yeah, let's just go ahead and hop right into the not a tutorial. I hate it's not a tutorial because I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. This is just how I made it. Let's go ahead and hop into the how I made a thing. Alright, so first I patterned a pauldron. It's a 3-piece pauldron, closely resembling Kamui Cosplay's tight shoulder pauldron, I believe. So if you cannot make your own pattern, I recommend that pattern and just modify it a little bit to make it more in the shape of the Mandalorian's pauldron. It's a rainbow in here. I love this film. I threw the pauldron pattern on a 6mm foam, cutting each piece out twice for both shoulders. I apologize for how bright it is, and throughout this video, like I said, it's framed so badly. Like, what did I think I was filming? What is this? Anyway, it gets better when I get my new camera and I can actually see what I'm doing. Oh goodness. So then I heated up the foam with a heat gun and I bent the pieces a little bit, making it easier to glue together. I barged the sides where the pieces are going to connect, and then I slowly pressed the pieces together. There's some edge detailing around the pauldrons. I cut out some 6mm foam strips for this. I think they're like ½ an inch or... I'm looking at them right now. I'm like, how thick are they? We'll just go with ½ an inch. I don't remember how thick they were. There's also a 1-inch strip that's down the middle of each pauldron, and they're kind of thick, so I made them out of 10mm foam, and then I trimmed them down to size, and then I glued them onto the pauldron. The 6mm pieces got glued on once the middle piece is secured. There is a tiny strip of edging on the inside of the outer edging, so I cut some super skinny 4mm strips and then I glued those to the bottom half of the pauldron. So for attaching the pauldrons, there is some Velcro on the jacket that I wear and on the inside of the pauldron. So for attaching the pauldrons, all I do is just boop, and that's it. I completely forgot to mention where I got the Mudhorn emblem. The Mudhorn emblem. It's a 3D print from Noggin Busters on Etsy, and I just glued it on with barge. That is linked in the description. So for the bracers, I made a pretty simple 3-piece pattern, which at first I cut them out separately, but then I was like, I don't like this. I can just cut the whole thing out. I made lines on the sides where I'll be folding it, and then I super carefully cut 2 bevels into the foam, being careful not to cut all the way through or else you won't have a good time. This creates a V shape, and then from there I just pull out the middle of the 2 cuts and then I fold it. This is a really fun foam thing that I like to do. It creates beautiful stars and it creates so many other shapes, like these really harsh edges, and I love it. Oh, it's so good. So good. Alright, so once I test the fit, I then glue the seams together. And I moved on to the details. Everything is in layers, and I found some really nice 3D models of the bracers, which it literally shows each piece and how it gets layered on. So I will link that reference down below. You can also just buy the 3D print and print it yourself instead of making it out of foam, because it will look a lot smoother if you 3D print it instead of making it out of foam, but you know. So there are some base layers that are made from 10mm foam, which is what I'm doing here. And on top of those starts the details, such as the 6mm layer and extra 6mm details. On these details, I'm scoring some lines into the foam, and then I heat it up and it opens up the cuts. Another favorite thing I like to do on foam, do little cuts and then you put some heat on it and it opens up. Oh, it's so good. This is for the hand armor. It's just a pattern that I drew up myself after looking at a reference of his gloves. And then I do that same V beveled cut. I remove the middle foam, and then I glue the seams together. I also make sure it still fits right on my hand because that's important too. Back to the bracer, I draw out where this 4mm foam layer is going to go. I have no idea what any of these pieces are, and that's why I'm just calling out the thicknesses, because I don't know what any of this is. They're just layers. I don't know what they are. Then I start marking out where the next details will be going, including this 10mm rectangle that I will sand down later. Doing a little more gluing of the 2mm foam, and then this 4mm side piece thing. So for the rocket, I originally glued 2 pieces of 10mm foam together, and then I sanded it into like a half circle, and I was like, oh my god, this looks so stupid. So I literally just threw it, and I was like, I'll figure something else out later. I'll figure it out. And then I started working on sanding the rectangle. Instead of sanding foam into the rocket, you know, I took a piece of 4mm foam, added some 2mm details on top of it, and I added a half circle to the back, which is 10mm foam with some lines scored into it, tested the fit on the bracer. I added the bottom part to keep it shape, and then I finally glued it onto the bracer. It turned out okay. I mean, it was okay. It would be way easier to do it with a foam dowel. But it looks so much better than sanding the piece because it didn't turn into a perfect half circle. It looked really bad, honestly. I tested a few different methods with the front of the rocket, starting with foam clay, and I ended up hating it. So I took a piece of 6mm foam, bent it, glued it in, add some foam edging to make it look a little nicer and blend it in a little more. And then I used my soldering iron to burn little holes into it. Please be careful with burning foam. This releases a lot of toxins into the air. My windows were open and my fan was on. Any project I get to use googly eyes, I'm a happy bean. I glued some googly eyes onto the bracer to mimic the little buttons he has on there. Moving back to the glove, I cut out these little triangle pieces that will sit on top of the hand armor, and then I hand painted the hand armor, so many hands here, this creamish color. The triangles were painted a light blue. For the gloves themselves, I had 2 pairs of gardening gloves that just laying around. I have no idea where I got them. So I took 1 pair and I cut off the fingertips, and then I plasti dipped those black. For the other gloves, I painted the tips of the fingers yellow, and then I dirtied them up with this sponge with some different shades of brown paint, which I had to mix myself because I ran out of brown paint like a year ago, and every time I need brown paint, I mix up my own, and it's so annoying. Why don't I just go buy brown paint? I need brown paint. So then I sanded everything nice and smooth with a high grit sanding drum, and then I used my heat gun to seal the foam, and that also melts all the little fuzzies and stuff that gets left from sanding. Perfect camera placement, yes, everyone can see what I'm doing. Wonderful job. What am I filming? What is happening here? I'm just priming everything with a coat of plasti dip. After that, everything got a glossy coat, and then a few layers of this mirror chrome paint by Spastics. I really like this chrome paint, but make sure you put a glossy layer on first, and then it comes out spectacular. I'm very happy with it. I noticed one of the bracers has like the time or something on it. I'm not too sure what it is, so I put my own on. I put 1620 on there. I'm a grown-ass adult. Both of the bracers have this piece that I added. It's just a piece of 6mm foam. It is on Velcro if I wanted to take it off, but honestly, I got little hands, so my hand just slides through and they just stay on. That's that. And honestly, that's it. Again, I didn't weather anything, just because I wanted that perfect shiny Beskar finish, you know, I wanted it to be perfect. I filmed this entire voiceover not knowing that my mic was flipped around, so that's exciting. I forgot to record an outro. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope it was informative or entertaining at least. Yeah, I will see you guys next week for the next part of this, which I don't know what it's gonna be. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, have a good day. Bye. Oh, big stretch.